Jay, I'd like to. Are you
Yeah.
okay? I'd like to ask you first what you feel the challenges are about designing for this market, for the C segment.
I think it's probably less about the challenges and more about the opportunities, and I don't mean that to sound like corporate spin, even though it did. Let me tell you why. If you'd asked me that question 10 years ago, I would have said, wow, this is really difficult because we've got customers in Asia that have very different needs than customers in the US, customers in Europe, and that was kind of true 10 years ago, and that's why we were developing a focus for each of those countries that had very little, if anything, to do with each other. Somewhere along the line, in the last 10 years, with the advent of seamless communication, from internet to cell phone to wherever you happen to be, everybody's seeing the same information on design, everybody's got the same lifestyle aspirations to plus or minus 10%. And so people in Asia, people in Europe, people in the United States are all looking at simply the best design, and they're saying, that's what I want, as opposed to I want a specific car or a specific body style or a specific feature. Now let me give you an example. I would have said 10 years ago, most manufacturers would have told you in the United States that you couldn't sell a 5-door vehicle, you could only sell a 4-door sedan. Well, guess what? That's all changing. So as we brought the Fiesta in, we offered a 4-door as well as a 5-door, and the 5-door is selling like hotcakes, really quick out of the gate. We're anticipating exactly the same thing on Focus. So although we designed a 4-door sedan for the US market and Asia Pacific, we're going to sell a lot of 5-doors as well. Weirdly, the Europeans, which have always been staunch 5-door drivers, have said, wow, I think that 4-door is pretty sleek, that looks upscale, we're kind of interested in that.
I'm with you, I think
and so
that's great.
the weirdest convergence is happening, and I think partly it's because the designs have gotten better, but partly it's because everybody's talking more and understanding the positive benefits of each of those body styles.
So the Mark I Focus was a fantastic revolution within the segment.
Yeah.
In Europe, it made great waves, moving from the Escort to the Focus. It was the mid-range family car, and it was a fantastic revolution. The Mark II came out, and no one really noticed. What's going to make the Mark III?
Someone noticed because it remained the best-selling car in Europe. So.
Okay.
Somebody had to notice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a car which fits in Europe.
Yeah.
The Mondeo is a very large car.
I totally agree with you. You can't have a design revolution every time you design a car. I think what the Mark II Focus did is that it said, here's more of the same, and nobody blinked an eye. So if you'd had a Mark I, you felt very comfortable moving into Mark II. Excuse me.
Okay, and where do you see the design moving? I mean, you must be thinking now, this car is due to be launched in 2011, the last one, the 2 was launched in 2008, is that right? So in 5-6 years' time, you'll be looking at a Mark IV or looking to change the model structure again. How do you anticipate that?
Well, let's go back and look at 1, 2, and what's sitting out on the showroom in 3. I would agree with you on Mark II, by the way. I think it's a slightly Teutonic version of the first generation Focus. We sort of looked at that, and after reviewing it, said, gee, does that really fit where we want to go with the brand? So we always say we want all of our vehicles that we design to be fun to drive. We think that's what our customer base expects. And although the second generation Focus was fun to drive, I don't think it looked as fun to drive as possibly we could have made it in retrospect. Is it possible to get a water, by the way? Sorry.
It's fine.
What's interesting is with the Mark III, we went back and we said, look, the car needs to, using overused cliche, look like it's moving when it's standing still. And so the car is phenomenally more dynamic in its overall shape and its profile, quite a radical silhouette with the berth pulled forward. And if you look at those elements moving from Mark II to Mark III, we think that resonates with customers as well.
Okay. So if I was to look at the architecture of the car, what are you particularly proud of? If you were to walk me around the car, it's a shame we're not outside the car now, but what points would you bring out and say, this is a little design feature that we're particularly proud of, that we think is a move on?
Well, let me kind of start a little bit further back from the car. So if I see the car going down the road, or coming at me on the road, or going past me in a profile, I will immediately notice that that A-pillar moved about 70 millimeters forward, creates a much sleeker profile. So although I even have a 3-box sedan in the 4-door version or the 5-door version, both of those cars resonate immediately